Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I find out day by day just how horrible a person I am. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday. Sensational Sunday. Yes, friends, we are here once again to find out about whiteness. You know, that chronic and terminal condition that so many of us possess, or depending on how you look at it, so many of us want to possess, given the power dynamics we're told exist in the world. But yes, once again, into the breach. And who is going along with me for this wonderful journey? Why, that would be Iverson Katorix, hello. Wade Willison, hello. Data Wasteland, hello. Absolutely Degenerate, hello. Brad Young, hello. Aloysius Fudpucker, hello. Mr. Joestar, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Hammond Beans, hello. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Ken Batter, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Keever Dam, hello. And then the chat jumps because, of course, it does. Red Chaos Tree, hello. Seftus Wolf, hello. Attila Paxur, hello. Toku, hello. Anthrax Allen, hello. The gayest person on YouTube, hello. The Magister, hello. Fernanda, hello. St. Michael, hello. Gulf City, Peterbilt Confederacy 379, hello. Mike R, hello. Some Unknown Nation, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Functional, hello. That One Servant of Satania, hello. Dina B, hello. Mike Savage, Blarg. No Name, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. Brutus, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. That One-Ton Hammer, or That One-Ton Hammer. That One-Ton Hammer. The One-Ton Hammer, because his name was right below That One Servant of Satania, and my brain pushed the two words together. Anyway, hello. Zombie Teddy, hello. Lycan King 018, hello. No One Nowhere, hello. NC Metal, hello. Holy cats! Gino Moreno. Holy cow, thank you so much. That's ridiculously generous of you. Wow. Thank you. I hope I can fulfill the promise of your generosity. Thank you so much. This is Kyle, hello. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Wowzers. I feel pressured all of a sudden. Deco, hello. Truckin' Bear, hello. Mr. E, hello. Zaubla, hello. Sarjim, hello. Came for the sin, saved for the scribe. Oh, well, thank you so much. That's extremely generous. I will do my best to entertain. But what are we entertaining with today? Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and families, we are talking mindfully about whiteness. Talking mindfully about whiteness. I have no idea what that means. Something else to note, a couple of things. First off, the bingo card has been revised. Okay, the link is in the description. Now, I understand that my decision is going to be controversial to some of you, but please hear me out. I have added the square mind reading / assumes motives. Okay, and that has replaced should not be in current occupation or position. Now, hear me out. The problem that I've continually encountered with that square is that it's very subjective. It's not a direct matter of something that's in the content of the talk. It is an assessment of the speaker outside of the talk and not dealing directly necessarily with what they're talking about. And more often than not, in many of these TEDx's, we end up at the end of the show going like, I can't really say. And, you know, if I find myself doing that too many times, it's not at least a somewhat binary decision. I mean, I understand there are squares on the list that are somewhat subjective, but that was probably the most subjective of them all. So I decided to take it out and replace it with something that is not as subjective. When somebody's reading minds or assuming motives, we know it because it's in the content of the talk. So that was my way of thinking on that. If you disagree with me, well, that's just them's the breaks, but I hope you understand. Thank you, Mike R. Am I going to need to take my anti-seizure meds for this one? I don't think there's a strobe light involved, and I don't have flashing lights on my videos, so I think you should be okay. But who knows, the reflection of the lights on her skin may do a number on you, depending. All right, second thing to note, the original audio for this video was awful. It was like mono 1.5. Like one half of the track was her voice and the other half was just like tinny background noise, more or less. So I have fixed the audio. I've taken out the weak track, doubled up the stronger track, turned that into stereo, and boosted the sound. So you're not even technically, you will be getting a higher quality copy or presentation out of this video than you would the original. Hopefully I did good enough job that it is legible to everyone. Legible, coherent, audible, there you go. Anyway, that's all I've got. But yes, talking mindfully about whiteness. All right, so with all that as preamble, as usual, I'll start off with a few seconds for you guys to give me a sound test and let me know that you can hear it. And hopefully all my sound work pays off. And then we shall begin.
Many years ago, I was asked to join the board of directors of a community-based organization.
Many years ago, I was asked to join the board of directors of a community-based organization. You guys hear all that? Please let me know that you have. Boy, oh boy. Sounds good says no one nowhere. The other choice says sounds good. Aloysius Fudpucker says sounds good. One Ton Hammer. Everybody else. Okay. So, she was asked to be on the board of directors of a community-based organization. Sounds very prestigious. Thank you, Chicago Mike. How many martinis and cigars do I need for this? I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't watch these things ahead of time. It is surprising for me as it is for you. With that being said, let's see what our speaker has to say.
They were looking to diversify their board. Specifically, they were looking for people who looked like the folks that they typically serve. And while it is true, I am Latinx, and proudly so.
Latinx? Oh, Latinx. While you are, you know, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to tell that just by looking at you. It wouldn't be the first thing that jumped to my mind, but, you know, thanks for letting me know, I guess. So they wanted to diversify their board by having people on who looked like the community they served. Looked like. Again, Latinx or whatever is not the first thing that would have come to my mind without you telling me. But then I guess some things only run skin deep. Thank you, the One Ton Hammer. Is that Stixon Hammer's sister? She is a little bit on the gaunt side, isn't she? She's a bit thin, but, you know, that's just whatever.
I don't look like the folks that they typically serve.
Then why did they invite you on the board? So they wanted to diversify their board by having people on who looked like the people they serve, but you don't look like the people they serve. All right.
When I joined the board,
yes,
I doubled the number of Latinos.
Wow.
There were about the same number of Black folk on a board of about 16.
Okay, so 16 people, 2 Latinos, 2 Black people. What was this community organization doing? What was its purpose, mission statement? What was the community it was serving again?
And I lasted a grand total of 6 months.
Why?
And in my memory, the conflict that led to my eventual departure was centered around a conversation we were having about some layoffs that had to be done.
Okay.
I raised my concern that the way they were choosing to let people go was affecting mostly the Latinx staff.
The Latinx staff of 2? Oh, no, you're just on the board. Okay, so you accused the administration of being racist, more or less. Is that what I'm to understand?
And I explained to them, because this is my area of expertise.
Your area of expertise is what? Being Latinx?
That a last in, first out approach has racially disparate impacts that we should be mindful about.
Last in, first out racial impacts. Why is that inherently racial?
And maybe talk about. The leadership of the board were all good white people.
But...
And they listened.
But...
And then responded with anger.
Because they're being accused of being racist? Or maybe because they're being classified on the basis of their skin color, which of course is a noble gesture.
How dare you call me racist?
I'm sure that's how it went. I'm sure that's how it went. I'm not going to mark that as an anecdote that never happened, because in spirit, I believe that that happened. I believe that this lady went onto this board, decided that the white people in the room were being racist and accused them of such. Maybe not directly. Maybe she didn't say you're a racist, but she all but said so in pointing out the ethnicity of those being let go and her area of particular expertise.
Don't you know we started this organization 20 years ago to serve immigrants?
I don't know. Did they? Okay, and so?
I am offended. I marched in the 60s.
Is that something that you're just going to dismiss? Is that not evidence of something, maybe?
So maybe I didn't say it the right way.
What was the right way? So you did say they were racist? You just came out and said you're racist? Okay, so your poor, let's say, accusatory skills had you leaving this organization 6 months after you were brought on. Did you leave of your own accord by any chance?
But I knew where this was headed, and I left the board shortly after.
You left the board shortly after. You accused the white people in the room of being racist. Yeah, I'm sure you left. I'm sure it was a very amicable decision.
This wasn't the first time, nor would it be the last, that I experienced that backlash you get when you point out racism to white people.
Oh, right. Right. You are the witch finder general. And when you go to a town and accuse the local school teacher of witchcraft, and the rest of the town fights back against such an accusation, well, obviously, the corruption runs deep.
I experienced this all throughout my education from both classmates and teachers.
Oh, you mean everybody you accused of racism kind of gave you flack for it? Wow, imagine that.
In all of my careers, but most especially as a university professor.
Oh boy, an educator. Oh, great. Don't tell me you work for Stanford. I hope she doesn't work for Stanford.
More than once, I have been the token minority. Well, you know, I am highly educated.
Okay, not bragging. Not bragging at all. Okay, we're going to the bingo card real quick. Free space. Circling that one. And on its inaugural voyage, I'm circling mind reading assumes motives. Because apparently that's just what she does. That's just what life has brought her. That's part of her job, I guess. But yeah, no, oftentimes she's found to be the token person. Why do you accept those positions? If you know you're being hired on as the token individual, why would you accept such a position? Why would you demean yourself in that way? Devalue yourself down to your skin color? Why would you do that? Or your ethnicity? Why? Oh, I got to hit the button. That's right. Move the...
And I pass as white.
You pass as white. Well, yeah, I guess you do, because I didn't really... Well, I mean, when I saw the title of the conversation, or the presentation, boy, Pepperjack's hit me already. I assumed you had some insider baseball knowledge of mindfully talking about whiteness, but now I know that you're not white, because you only pass as white. You see, so... I guess then you don't actually possess white privilege because, I don't know.
I know what I look like.
You know what you look like. Okay, so how does that make you not white? Now, functionally speaking, how does that make you not white?
Yet, despite being so white passing, I too have been told to go back to where I come from for speaking perfectly fluent Spanglish on one of those liberal college campuses on the left coast.
A liberal college campus told you to go back to where you came from. Okay. I have a hard time believing that, but okay.
And right here in progressive Massachusetts, I, like other women of color, have been told that I'm not very collegial when I refuse to allow white people to take credit for my work.
Anecdote that probably never happened. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that anybody told you that you're not going along to getting along by giving white people credit for your work. Somehow I don't think that conversation actually ever happened.
So,
a needle pulling thread. Sorry.
Instead of burning everything down in a rage.
Okay, what's your alternative to massive destruction?
What I do is integrate these experiences and the experiences of others with about 2 decades of research and teaching and learning.
Ooh, okay, so this is an academic pursuit of racism. Got it.
Into the work I do, not just in the classroom, but also in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space.
Oh, you're a DEI expert? Oh, boy. And she said equity. Equity gets circled as well. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Yeah, she kind of brought up the color of the skin of the other people on the board for no particular reason. And there you go. Okay, moving on.
And we all know, and we call this work DEI.
Hey, I beat you to it because I'm an expert, kind of, after all this time.
We all know DEI work.
Yes.
It's that once-a-year workshop where you learn not to discriminate. Or where you learn about diverse peoples. I love being called diverse. It actually makes me feel like I am multitudes.
Well, I don't know. How many identities do you hold? You know, because that's an important thing. I mean, let's see. You're female. You're Latinx. I'll say that you're an academic. You're a teacher. I can't tell if there's a ring on your finger. Maybe you're married and a wife. I mean, how many identities do you carry with you throughout every moment of your day? Maybe you are a multitude in your own mind.
But what I'm here today to share with you is that the way DEI has been done and is still often done is not working and might actually be making things worse.
Oh boy, tell me.
The reliance on the once-a-year workshop or the emergency bias seminar after some incident doesn't work.
Yes, we need to have it done every week, every year, forever. Now, here's my card for my DEI consulting services. I'm just being cynical.
And DEI that focuses on generating white sympathy for the oppression experienced by people of color also doesn't work.
Wow, really? You mean just assuming that white people are terrible and discriminate out of reflex and everybody else who isn't white is somehow an instant victim and Okay, benevolent condescension, circling that one. Let's see. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to circle plays. No, I'll wait. I'll wait on plays victim. My trigger finger's a little itchy right now, but all right.
You see, the reasons why our institutions and our communities are struggling with diversity, equity, and inclusion is not because white people are insufficiently sympathetic.
Oh, no, they're not insufficiently sympathetic. They're just inherently racist. Oh, Sinatra says this in the chat. What is DEI? Well, Sinatra, let me educate you. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. The programs that exist in corporate spaces and educational spaces and political spaces to ensure that everyone has a mindset towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it's not about making white people feel guilty about their inherent privilege or the fact that they're just subconsciously racist. No, no, no. According to our speaker, it's something much more than that. What could it be?
It is because of this phenomenon called whiteness.
A phenomenon? Phenomenon.
And we need to start talking about that because whiteness is the cause of the lack of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in our organizations, in our neighborhoods, and frankly, in our culture.
Oh my, well, I do declare. Yes, whiteness. We have to start talking about it. We've never talked about it before. The phrase and term whiteness has never come up before. We need to start talking about it. I haven't done any dozens of videos on the term or concept of whiteness over the last 4 years. No, we need to start talking about it now.
And so that we understand each other, when I talk about whiteness, I'm not talking about your individual ethnic identity rooted in a European ancestry.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that because, when I think about myself, I think of myself first and foremost by my ethnically European rooted ancestry. That when I think about me, that is the identity I first go to. I don't think about my name or who I am. No, I think about the mystic chords of memory reaching back to Europe in my genealogy. Oh gosh, you got me pegged, lady. Wowzers. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Can she brag about the size of her TEDx red dot? She's a little full of herself, isn't she? Just a little bit. A little, I'd say snobby might be the term.
When I talk about whiteness,
yes,
I'm talking about these structures that allow organizations whose mission is to serve immigrants to maintain a predominantly white and non-immigrant leadership.
Oh, right. So an organization that serves a particular community, if they don't have people running that organization who resemble the people of the community they serve, then that's wrong. That's bad. Got it.
I'm talking about these systems that allow white people to harass people of color by calling the police.
Well, I'm going to be circling systemic institutional. Harass people of color by calling the police. So simply the act of calling the police, if you're a white person and the police arrive and have to confront anybody who isn't white, that is an act of harassment. Got it.
I'm also talking about these practices of giving the benefit of the doubt and second chances to white people, even when they've been convicted of violating our laws.
What are you talking about? Second chances? Like they serve their time and they're let out of prison? Okay, that one I'm not quite sure what she means.
And I'm also talking about this cultural norm that prioritizes so-called order and civility over equity and justice.
So-called order and civility over equity and justice. Yes. Equity and justice. Equity, equality of outcome, order, equality of opportunity, fairness, etc. I'm filling in the blanks for myself. I have no idea what she means. Do you think she'll explain in the next 6 minutes or so? I don't know. Let's hope.
These systems and structures, practices and norms, in the end, reproduce white supremacy.
Oh, white supremacy. Go to the bingo card. Boy, we're just on a bonanza today. White supremacy. All right. White supremacy. All right. And you, our speaker, obviously do not benefit from any of those things, even though you quote unquote pass as white. Right?
And to be clear, white supremacy is more than the claim that white people are inherently superior and should dominate others.
Really? Oh, really? What? So an ideology of racial supremacy isn't just an ideology of racial supremacy. Well, golly, please edify me. What more is it?
It is also the idea that white people and white culture are the norm.
Isn't that also an aspect of supremacy? That anything else is abnormal? I'm going to back up a second or two because I did cut her off and I don't want to cut her off completely.
It is also the idea that white people and white culture are the norm, are the ideal,
Right.
are the standard by which to judge everything.
How is that not white supremacy itself? How is that? How are those things not just iterations of the concept of white supremacy? How is that a variant? How is that an extra? What are you talking about?
Now, white supremacy is in part an ideology.
It's in part an ideology. Okay, what's the other part? Granite?
One that we did not create.
One that we did not create. She who passes as white. Okay?
We inherited this.
Oh, we did. So we're just mindless recipients of a divisive ideology. We. Okay.
Over 500 years of justifying racial subjugation. It's an ideology that has embedded ideas in our heads without our knowledge or permission.
So we are all victims unwittingly contributing to a racist ideology. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to know these things. I'm glad to know that I have no choice but to be the villain that you tell me I am.
But nevertheless,
yes.
White supremacy as an ideology reproduces itself and persists through these structures of whiteness.
Oh, it's like a virus, a thought virus.
And we need to start talking about that if we are serious about creating equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Oh, well, yes, we've never talked about white supremacy before in this country. It's never come up. No one has ever brought up white privilege, white supremacy, systems of oppression. These things have never been discussed before. Our speaker is so innovative.
So how do we do that?
I don't know. I'm dying to know. Please tell me.
I'm glad you asked.
Oh, I'm glad you offered a solution, I think.
I've found that learning to talk about whiteness mindfully.
Could she sound more stereotypically hoity-toity? I mean, really. I mean, it's like I'm watching a slightly watered-down Thurston Howell III give a TEDx presentation. Mindfully. I'm going to go out to the bar and have a drink. Would you like to come with me? Oh, Muffy and Buffy. Kiever says benevolent condescension. I already circled benevolent condescension. Benevolent condescension is already circled.
Is best done through structured skill building and learning in racial affinity groups.
Racial affinity groups. Racial affinity groups. Okay.
So what does that look like?
I don't know. You're talking absolute Greek to me.
I'm going to give you some of the broad strokes.
Please do.
This approach focuses on developing listening and other communication skills.
Okay, well, I tell you what, by doing these talks, I am listening very intently, and I am attempting to communicate to my audience, if not to myself, the rationale behind what I'm hearing, if I can even get there. So, technically I'm practicing these skills all the time.
Now, we all need to learn how to talk about race.
We do? Why? Why? Why do we need to learn to talk about race? Why can't we just put it in the same category as eye color and hair color, as having absolutely nothing to do with the content of one's character? Can we not do that instead? Or if not that, can you please justify to me why we need to talk about hair color? Because if you can't justify to me why we need to talk about hair color, you're not going to be able to justify to me about why we need to talk about race. It just not going to work. Sorry, but please continue.
We know that.
Oh, you tell us that we know that.
But in order to talk about whiteness mindfully, we need to practice listening with resilience.
Listening with resilience. Boy, this is just action-packed with buzzwords, isn't it? Now, listening with resilience. If she repeats that another time or two, I'm going to mark buzzword, buzz phrase.
And sitting with discomfort.
Listening with resilience, sitting with discomfort, standing with trepidation, flying with fear. Do we want to put another verb and descriptor right next to each other and call it some kind of insightful revelation? I mean, I've done that all. Malicious tranquility. You like that? Yeah.
The discomfort caused, for example, when you learn that something you just said or used to think is racially conditioned and harmful.
Would that be a microaggression or unconscious bias? I think it would be. Circled.
Structured skill building also gives white people in particular the opportunity to practice managing those emotional reactions caused when the racism in their speech or actions are pointed out to them.
Oh, is that akin to, say, white fragility? You know, when you accuse a white person of being racist and they get angry, which is obviously a sign that they're racist. You know, are you going to bring up Robin DiAngelo? Are you at least going to give credit where credit is due in that regard?
Emotional reactions, like what drove the behavior I experienced at that board meeting.
Yes, the behavior that you experienced when you accused somebody of racism who said, "The hell are you talking about? I marched in Selma. I'm running an organization to help immigrants from other countries. What the hell is wrong with you?" But no, they were the bad guys.
Now, there's lots of other skills that I think DEI and race education could emphasize more.
Oh.
One of them
Yeah.
is bystander intervention.
Oh, one of them? Uh-oh, we have a list. Oh my gosh, this is just a bonanza today. A list circled on the bingo card. Okay, what was that? Sorry, let me back up a little bit.
Skills that I think DEI and race education could emphasize more.
Yes.
One of them is bystander intervention.
Bystander intervention. Okay, I've heard about this before. If you see something, say something. If you're at the office and someone makes a racist joke, you need to step in and intervene in order to shut down that kind of behavior. Something like that.
For example,
yes.
What are you going to say when your colleague asks your new coworker who is of visibly Asian heritage where they are really from when they just told you they're from San Diego?
I don't know. Well, what should you say?
What are you going to do when your dear friend locks the car doors when a black man crosses the street in front of you?
I don't know. Punch him in the face?
We need to learn to recognize these behaviors conditioned by whiteness.
These behaviors conditioned by whiteness. Okay, so someone asking in a clumsy way what their heritage is, that's inherently a white thing. Someone locking the door because a black person's walking by because you sitting in the car seat know why the person's locking the door, that's inherently a white thing. Okay, so no one else does any of these things ever, forever. If they do them at all. Okay.
We need to learn to manage our own emotional reactions once we start to notice them.
Once we start to notice them. Once we start to divine intent and thought in someone, we need to manage our emotions once we become radars for racism. Ooh, radars for racism. That sounds like a great organizational name, doesn't it? Oh, boy. Ooh.
And then we need to actually practice saying the words we might use when confronted with them.
Oh.
And the practice,
yes,
the regular practice is important.
Yes.
Because there's no formula to this.
There's no formula to this. So it's every man for themselves. Every non-binary, melanin neutral human body for themselves.
How I might respond to racism may be different than how you respond to racism, even in the same context, and that is okay.
Oh, okay. So if I punch somebody in the face because I think they're being racist, that's okay. Thanks, lady.
Now, here's the other important thing. I have found that this kind of learning is best done in affinity group spaces. And
affinity group spaces. I'm still curious to know what her definition of affinity groups are, but sorry, backed up a bit because I cut her off.
Learning is best done in affinity group spaces. And what I mean by that, and what I'm proposing to you all tonight, or this afternoon, is that most DEI should be done in racially segregated groups.
Okay, yeah, okay. Had to get up from my desk there for a second, take a little walk around. So, the most effective way to encourage diversity, equity, and inclusion is via racial segregation. Racial segregation. Okay. I am dying to hear, I'm backing up just slightly, dying to hear the rationale behind this one.
Or this afternoon.
Oh, thank you, Havoc. Vladimirovich Stalinov. Did she just ... Okay, Dan. Yeah. No, yeah. Racial affinity groups. That's a fancy word for racial segregation. All right. So in the case, let's just back up for a second. In the case of the board of directors that she was on for 6 months, up until she started accusing everybody of being racist, if they were to conduct a DEI program, by her own recommendations, you would have had one of the 16 members on the board, 2 of whom were Latinx, 2 of whom were black, and everybody else was white. In order to effectively perform DEI in that instance, you would have one group of 2, another group of 2, and then a group of 12. And that would effectively achieve DEI on the board of directors by divvying everybody up on the basis of race. Okay. So what group do you belong to then, speaker? I wonder. I mean, you're white, and sorry, you don't pass as white. You're white. I'm sorry. You're walking down the street, and someone looks at you who has an idea of what they are to think about white people simply on the basis of their skin color. You're in that category. You can fight it as much as you want, but what you're promoting is for people to look upon you first and foremost by your skin color, and you're white. So, standing there and explaining to them how you're not actually white, you're really Latinx and doesn't really help anything, Doesn't really do it. It's almost like, I don't know, valuing people on the basis of a completely arbitrary characteristic of their physical makeup. It's kind of stupid. I don't know. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Make Scribe go crazy. That should be a square. We used to have one that said Scribe breaks down in the first 30 seconds or something. But that's just so random, and it doesn't always happen. I'm trying to make sure the TEDx bingo card is focused on the content of the presentation as much as possible, and not for the variables that can be too subjective or just random occurrences in the course of things. I'm sure we're working towards perfection, everyone. But okay, yes, racial segregation. Tell us more about racial affinity groups.
Is that most DEI should be done in racially segregated groups. And I know that's going to make some people in this room very uncomfortable, so hear me out.
I am all ears. Please do justify to me racial segregation in the workplace, in an organization, for any particular reason. Do tell.
DEI work focused on whiteness will make white people's racial selves and the very real consequences and benefits of being white visible to them often for the first time. This is a painful process for.
Okay, I'm going to back up again because I cut her off. But okay, so yeah, white people are all racist, guys. All right, white people are all fragile, and if you accuse them of racism, they're obviously going to react badly because they're being confronted with the natural occurrence of their racism, which they have because they're white, and getting angry about being confronted with it affirms the fact that they're racist, which is because they're white. And it's a very uncomfortable situation because what you do is when you start racially segregating people in DEI, and you start grouping people to different places on the basis of skin color, and you group everybody together into one little cluster simply on the basis of skin color, you're essentially equating all of the people in that group as having no identity whatsoever, because identity doesn't matter. You know, personal attributes and merits and thoughts and ideas, they're meaningless next to skin color, which is the one unifying factor that says everything about who you are, not what you are, who you are. And when you do it with other races, you're not saying that their identities don't matter and only their skin color matters. This is all about white people having a problem that needs to be fixed. And we can only achieve that in an organization or an institution through racial segregation and focusing intently on skin color, setting everything else aside. Because racial identitarianism is cool. I might be slightly irritated right now. It must be my racism showing.
White people to go through. There is shame. There are tears, even paralysis. All the stages of grief are seen when white people learn that they too are part of a racial group and that some of their ideas and lots of their behaviors are inconsistent with how they want to see themselves.
Yeah, you know, when I start confronting my racism, I lose feeling in my legs and I just fall to the floor. Paralysis. Yeah. It's true. It's true. I don't know.
So I've learned that white people really do need their own safe space with their own people to be brave enough to go through this process of learning.
White people need their own safe space with their own people. Their own people. Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine, if you will, someone just classifying any black person, any Native American person, any Latino person as needing to go with their own people. It's almost like, I don't know, go back to where you came from or something. Or saying that visibly Asian guy at the company she talked about earlier should go back to his own people. You know, where he really came from. Because race.
Learning that white supremacy is not about good people versus bad people.
No. White supremacy isn't about good people versus bad people. No. Racial ideology, racial supremacy. No, it's not about good people versus bad people. It's about superior people to inferior people. We're not making a value judgment or anything when we talk about white supremacy. No. Okay, well then what are we doing then?
And racial justice, it's not just about providing services to marginalized groups.
Marginalized, going to the bingo card, marginalized, marginalization. How have we not hit a bingo so far? Holy cow, guys. All over the place. All right.
Nor is it just about participating in protest. Nor is it just about fighting Nazis. Nor is it about any individual bigot, no matter what position he occupies.
Bigotry is not racism. I will say it again and again and again. Conflating the two terms is incorrect. A racist may indeed be a bigot, but a bigot is not necessarily a racist. Okay, these are two different terms, two different things. One is the basis on race, one is the basis on ideas. Okay, a never Trumper is a bigot on the basis of ideas, regardless of the race. If you're a Trump supporter and someone is an anti-Trump supporter, you're a bigot. And bigotry does not necessarily make you an inherently bad person. You can be bigoted against, I don't know, Nazism. Like Nazism is a really bad idea and people who practice Nazism are bad people. You're a bigot. You know, doesn't make you a bad person, but it does make you a bigot. You turn it around to the whole racism thing, yeah, that's different. That's different. Dehumanizing people down to their melanin count, yeah, that kind of makes you a bad person. In my mind. Which, of course, makes me a bigot.
White people.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about white people. Tell me more about how terrible I am.
Really do need their own space, facilitated by people trained to do this, and that is very important.
Oh, do you happen to be someone who's trained to do that by any chance, offering your services for widespread employment?
To learn that whiteness and the white supremacy it supports is about systems.
Oh.
Systems that have been created by humans and that can be changed by humans.
Oh, humans. Do those humans have to be white people? Or did I miss something?
But there's another very important reason why we want to do this work in racial affinity groups.
There's another important reason why we want to promote racial segregation. Okay, do tell.
And that is?
Yes. Yes.
These defensive behaviors caused by those unmanaged emotional reactions.
Unmanaged emotional reactions. So when someone's accused of racism and they get angry at that, that person is out of control. They're not being rational. Getting angry at accusations of racism is an irrational response, inherent to white people. Okay.
Are unproductive and traumatizing to the people of color compelled to be in the room.
Well, if I hadn't already circled benevolent condescension, you know, people of color just can't handle an angry person in the room, especially if they're white.
Every angry invalidation, like what I experienced at that board meeting.
Every angry invalidation or, hey, you're out of your mind calling me a racist. Angry invalidation. So when someone called you a liar, when someone strongly disagreed with your accusation, that was an angry invalidation. It's very generous you're being to yourself.
Oh, but you speak such good English.
Oh, but you speak such good English. That happens how often?
Every mispronunciation of our names.
Oh, yes, every mispronunciation. Because, you know, here's the thing, guys. When someone mispronounces a name, they obviously know the correct way to pronounce that name and are making the conscious decision to pronounce it incorrectly in order to offend that person. I mean, it can't just be an honest mistake or a lack of linguistic knowledge. No. When someone mispronounces someone's name, it's an intentional act of racism and bigotry. Oh, sorry, bigotry. Racism and hatred. Because the only way that works is if every racist knows how to say every name correctly, but is choosing not to in order to insult. You see, that is how that has to work. Racists are just amazing linguists. Racists know how to say everything correctly so that they can insult someone by saying it incorrectly. You see how that works? Yeah, that's how that works.
It was just a joke. Quit being so sensitive.
Yeah, you know, jokes. Can't take a joke. Yeah,
It's just another painful reminder to people of color that we do not belong.
Oh, okay. So to remedy that, you're going to vilify everyone based on skin color as inherently weak, as inherently racist, as inherently oppressive, for no other reason than their skin color, which you're going to help usher along by making affinity groups and racially segregated programs in companies. You're going to set people by their skin color into a group to let them know how terrible they are and shame them. And that's going to make them feel like they belong. Or something?
And let's face it and be honest, people of color, we have our own learning and unlearning about racism to do.
So non-white people aren't perfect. Oh, okay. Well, tell us of the imperfections of other people on the basis of their skin color.
How we've internalized it, how we find ourselves reproducing white supremacy.
Oh, right. People who aren't white are reproducing white supremacy. So everybody's complicit, no matter your skin. Well, I mean, at least that's kind of a unifying factor, I suppose. So we're all unified under white supremacy, regardless of our skin color. That's an amazing notion.
Through our class racism, our gender racism, our queer racism, our colorism.
Queer racism. What?
Our religious intolerance.
What?
We also have work to do on becoming allies and accountable to each other so that we can make real this idea that tu lucha es mi lucha.
Word salad. And not because she was using Spanish there, but because nothing she said in the last 15 seconds makes any sense to me. So, oh, no, that's the wrong one. Word salad. Yes, word salad. There we go. All right.
Your fight is my fight.
Is my fight against being accused falsely of racism also your fight? Is my fight against being vilified simply on the basis of my skin color your fight? I mean, if somebody comes at me and judges me and assesses me and accuses me of things simply on the basis of what I look like and with no other evidence or no other cause, is that a fight you're going to take up alongside me? Somehow I don't think so. I don't know what it is. I just don't seem to think that that would be a fight you'd take up.
And we also need skills.
Oh.
Tools of resilience and strategies of self-care, including skills in non-judgmental compassion for ourselves and others, so that we can survive and thrive in the spaces we choose to occupy.
Non-judgmental compassion. Non-judgmental compassion. I'll say it one more time, just, for the hell of it. Non-judgmental compassion. Got it.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you.
I am glad that there's no deception here. I am glad that everything you're saying is absolutely the unfiltered truth of your perspective on the world and of other people. I am glad that you're not lying to me. I'm very glad of this.
This work is not easy.
Oh, yeah, I know. Accusing people of racism and having to deal with the fallout's not easy. Making a career out of promoting racial segregation is not easy. It's an uphill battle, guys. The fact that it's an uphill battle isn't evidence in contrary to my accusation, but no, it's a tough work, guys. It's real tough. It's not easy. That's why I need your financial support to keep doing this important work.
In my own journey of healing, and as I've been doing this work over the last couple of years in particular, I've had to learn to deal with my own triggers.
Your own triggers? Well, what might those be? How could you have flaws at this point?
My own fragility, my own ignorance.
Oh, wait, you are fragile and ignorant? How could that be? Is it your whiteness?
I've had to learn that I am talking with people where they are, not where they're capable of being, and that is hard.
What? What?
And I've also had to learn patience,
Uh-huh.
which is also harder.
Oh, you don't have any patience? With people who won't accept your accusations of racism? People who won't admit to their inherent flaw on the basis of their skin color because you tell them that they possess it? That kind of impatience? If only they would just get along with my hatred. Life would be so much easier. Ah!
But let's be real. Expunging a system of oppression that has successfully reproduced itself for 500 years, a system that infects every aspect of our society, it's going to take more than 25 years to make happen.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it really is, it's really confusing. That system of oppression over 500 years, how did you get on that board of directors again? Why were there any black people at all on that board of directors? How do you hold the position that you have? You talked about being a teacher. I assume you're a teacher somewhere. How are you able to afford those shoes? How are you able to stand on that stage? Why were you selected at all in this 500 years long system of oppression against anybody who's not white? I mean, why did they select you at all, given that you look too much like the people that they don't actually serve, according to your own estimate? I don't understand. I just don't get this this 500 years long oppression system that somehow allows you to operate in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Let's see. Some emulation says self-vilification scribe light. Well, was she though? Was she, or is that sort of humble bragging? We can discuss it afterwards. This is almost over, so we can discuss it afterwards. But I'm not quite sure that was self-vilification so much.
And we don't have time to waste.
Oh, okay.
Because it isn't just a handful of communities that are threatened by whiteness. Right now, our entire country is.
Oh.
And I'm not just talking about the revival of violent white supremacist organizing and nativism, because that's not even new.
Oh, well, oh gosh, all the white supremacy in this country that had a black president for 8 years. And every time that there's a crime involving a white cop and a black person, there's national media attention and outrage and protests nationwide over unjust practices or deaths that are hardly justified by police. Yeah, this nation is so racist. That's why, anyway.
We have concentration camps, again, in the United States.
What? What?
We are kicking out refugees who have fought bravely and loyally for the United States in our foreign wars.
Okay, now, is she talking about the detention centers on the borders? Is that what she means by concentration camps? Because, lady, I hate to tell you this, I don't know if you know what a concentration camp is, first and foremost. Now, on that second point, people being kicked out of the country who have served in the military or something, I have heard those stories before. And you know what? The fact that I've heard those stories, the fact that there was uproar over those stories, the fact that in several instances those decisions were overturned after the fact, that doesn't say that this country is unfair or racist inherently. Otherwise, nobody would care. Concentration camps. Really? Concentration camps. Okay.
There are white people fighting, even suing, to maintain racially segregated schools, not just in the South, in New York and in California.
Why is that a problem for you? Doesn't that lead to better DEI overall? don't you want to separate people out on the basis of their race so they can experience a concentrated, non-diluted experience of their own wretchedness? So now racial segregation is bad? I mean, I'm getting some mixed messages here.
And all of this is related to a system of oppression that persists through these structures of whiteness. And if we don't do something about this soon, we're going to lose the very possibility of being what I believe we must believe our country is capable of becoming.
Oh, what is it that you believe this country is capable of becoming under a system of oppression and white supremacy that's existed for 500 years and is perpetuated daily, unconsciously, by both white people and non-white people who don't know that they're all just minions in a grand conspiracy of oppression that puts you on a stage to tell them how evil they are? What do we possibly have ahead of us otherwise?
And to get there, we must talk about whiteness. In order to transform our organizations and our communities and our country so that equity and inclusion are the norm. And so everyone who finds themselves here belongs here. Thank you.
Everyone who finds themselves here finds themselves here. Well, there's several places I could go with that turn of phrase, but since she did not get more specific, although I could make some, and I'll just set that one aside. Okay, guys, well, there you go. That was our education on whiteness, and here's the bingo card. So what do I have circled? Well, here, let's go over what I haven't had circled. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. She used many new phrases, at least new to me, in there. Does it constitute new? Because, I mean, if she kept repeating, it's one of those things where someone has to keep repeating it or underlying it, like radical love on the last TEDx. She kept saying that, so that counted. I don't know. She said a lot of things that were interesting combinations of words, but she didn't reiterate any one of them so much that it sounded like she was promoting something. So I'll sit on that one for a second. Patriarchy, no. Plays victim. Yeah, I'm going to put plays victim. Somehow she was the one that was put out because she accused her co-board members of being racist, and somehow she's the one that was victimized when they were like, who the hell are you calling a racist? Like somehow they're the bad guy because she accused them of racism. Yeah, I'm circling that one. Wage gap never came up. Childhood or family anecdote. She never gave anything that I would construe as a childhood or family anecdote. School to prison pipeline, no. Privilege. Oh, did she ever say the word privilege? I don't know that she ever did. Did she? Okay, if somebody was listening and I missed it, she said it plenty of times. Did she say privilege? Maybe I was just so befuddled by everything else that she was saying that I didn't even notice it. She did? Okay, I'll take your guys' word for it. Okay, privilege. Let me update the bingo card there. Okay, that's the current mode. Toxic. I don't think she ever said the word toxic. I don't think she ever did. Leaves out vital context. Yeah, she left out vital context with that whole I was let go or I departed the board of directors. Was she fired? Did she quit? She didn't say. Self-vilification or wretchedness. I still don't think that she's self-vilified. I think she was being very humble brag about that. Now, I understand that that is the last one necessary for a bingo, and I will take arguments to the contrary, but I'm hesitant to say that at any point that this lady, who considered herself the center of the universe of all things good and non-racist, at any point actually self-vilified or wretchedness herself. Yeah, don't think so. Feminism, never brought it up. Takes credit for something done, experienced by others in their demographic. She kind of did by inserting herself into the experiences of all these other people that were also Latina or whatever. So I'm gonna circle that one. And lastly, gratuitous pausing for effect. She didn't gratuitously pause for effect, but boy, oh boy, was she being over dramatic in places. I don't know if that's something I want to stretch at this point to qualify for that. Okay, this is frustrating, I know, guys. I'm going to need some good arguments to circle self-vilification and gratuitous pausing for effect, because those are the only points at which we have a bingo, because we're not going to get school to prison pipeline. That never came up. So let me update the card one more time here. So that's where we're at. If you guys have any arguments for self-vilification, wretchedness, or gratuitous pausing for effect, I will take those now, or any others, by all means. Brown Coat Bows, Scribelight, if I might make a suggestion, perhaps the free space on the bingo card ought to be labeled safe space. No. I like free space. It's traditional. So I'm going to take that one. I'll leave it as it is. Appreciate it, though. Besides which, Dogcat Fox does not need a safe space. Does not need a safe space. Dogcat Fox needs space to roam, thus a free space. Some emulation. No one said she needs to believe it, Scribelight, but she did portray it. Oh, the self-wretchedness part? Oh, that's not a bad argument. I mean, it's content, not intent, right? I don't know, guys. What do you think? You think simply does the lack of actually seeming like they actually feel it, like someone standing on a stage and saying, I contribute to white privilege because of my white skin, that they're actually making some sort of confession? You think the lack of actual sincerity makes it invalidates the square? Let me know what you think. ERAS now, self-vilification by dint of passing for white and hating all white folks. Oh, that's also a good argument. All right, two good arguments in a row. You know what, guys? We have a double bingo. We have hit double bingo. Double bingo. Oh my God. Double bingo. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow, says Dogcat Fox. Double bingo. Look at all those squares circled. I mean, we covered so much territory in that one. And boy, oh boy, was our speaker so high, mighty, assured of her own infallibility on this one. It was something else. I don't usually see an attitude like that on a TEDx. There's usually a certain amount of uncertainty or nervousness, or asking the audience for a validation in something by saying right oftentimes. No, she knows exactly how the world works. She knows exactly how people operate, all on the basis of skin color. She is very, very assured in her own racism. It's quite a sight to see, isn't it? It's not often that I see someone on a stage promoting DEI that at the same time also promotes racial segregation. At least not as blatantly as she did, not as literally as she did. So, wow, guys, that was something else. I got to say, I had not expected that one to be as disturbing and infuriating as it was. But there you go. That's TEDx for you. So if you guys have anything else you'd like to add, or anything you'd like to mention, questions you might want to ask me, if you have any questions, I don't know. I'll give another couple of minutes and then I'll wrap this up for the day and go off to have the rest of the Sunday. Christopher Fluette, that was crazy. Yeah, no, that was one of the most stridently insane TEDx talks I think I've heard recently. Now, the guy who did the ritual 2 or so TEDx talks back, that was just insane. This one was on a level of certitude and intellectualism I haven't seen recently in a TEDx talk. But hey, there you go. That's what we had. A very intellectual argument for racism. Wasn't that great? Gulf City Peterbilt, why you evil with your upside down cross? There are a lot of things circled there. Okay, that's just happenstance. It is just happenstance. Oh, sorry. Mr. E, this one was just plain hateful and evil. Yeah. Yeah, no, this was from the beginning to the end. This was hatred. This was racially motivated hatred and benevolent condescension to everyone else as inherent victims, too weak, can't compete. And yet there she is standing on a stage, and she would chalk it up. She would, I bet, and this is me being mind reading for a second. But given her spiel there, I would bet that she would say any advantages that she has had in her professional career and elsewise is simply on the basis of her passing as white. I bet that even she would undermine her own personal merits, her own personal achievements, by saying that any advantages she has in life were effectively handed to her, not because she earned them, but because she passes as white. And I'd be very curious to know how many of her credentials she would be willing to discard and get rid of, since they're obviously invalidated, not on the basis of merit, but on the basis of her skin color. I would love to know. I really would. That's usually the question I want to ask anybody who stands on a stage and say that they benefit from white privilege or something to that effect. I really would like to ask people those questions. Let's see. Ken Batter, your bingo card shows white supremacy. Yes, it does. And I circled it. So there you go. Chicago Mike, so is she promoting returning to Jim Crow laws? Well, at least in the course of DEI training in businesses and other institutions. Yeah, like internal corporate Jim Crow laws. Kind of. Renovicio, on the other hand, I can genuinely say she is the most honest of all the left we have seen. This is what they really think. The rest cover up their hatred better. Is she really left, though? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, how far to the one side do you have to go before you circle back around to something sinister on the other? You know, is it really? Isn't there a special category that goes beyond just politics at that point? I don't know. But no, yeah, no, she was an unfiltered racist. She wasn't couching her language. She wasn't trying to sugarcoat it or try to Trojan horse anything. I'm not even sure she's aware of just how unfilteredly racist she was, or maybe she is. I don't know. But she reminds me a little bit of that Accenture guy I did a video on a while back, who stood on a stage and basically gave an unfiltered presentation about what diversity actually means in a company to an audience that I assume was not first language English speaking, because he couldn't couch his language either. And he really laid it out as to what his company intends to do with racial quotas and orientation quotas and so on. So yeah, no, she's very comfortable in being honest about what she really thinks of people and putting herself on some upper level of enlightenment as a result. Isn't that interesting? Let's see. Renovescio. Oh, yep, she is left. Progressive left. They are nothing like the liberal left. Totally different people in ideology. Extreme left for sure. But on the so far, you know, I have a hard time categorizing people on the basis of, you know, some political compass kind of thing. You know, I just take what they say and just hold it up to reason as much as I can. So, yeah, that's a hesitation in me, because I, you know, painting everybody with one brush, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. So maybe that's where my hesitation comes from. I just want to look at this lady for what she said. Look at this lady for what she is promoting. Regardless of what category you might put her in, she is responsible for what she's doing and saying. So she's a category of her own. Check your logic. Scribelight, you should have circled the whole card. No. That distinction goes only to the most insane one I've ever done or looked at, and that was the chromosome lady. That one just, if you were there for that, you'd know why. You can go back. It's only a couple of episodes in the back now. The chromosome lady. You'll know it by its thumbnail. Let's see, Mr. Joestar. Both extremes believe essentially the same stuff when roles flipped. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, At what point do you meet in the middle of the quote unquote bell curve, right? The horseshoe theory or whatever. You come back around to the other side. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and remember, guys, we have concentration camps going on right now, I guess. Let's see. Mr. E, honest and evil at the same time. Well, like I say, I appreciate honesty. It's more insidious if you try to couch your language and try to slip in the nasty stuff. No, she was just saying this is how it is. This is how it is. And Zach Osborne says she's a cat lady. I don't know. I don't know what she is, but she's definitely not somebody that I have a particular respect for in her ideology. Her totally not racist ideology. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight and me tonight, today, whatever. We have hit a double bingo. That's happened a couple of times now, I think, in the past, but it is a rarity to hit a bingo at all. And I think this lady certainly deserves it. Certainly deserves it. But all that being said, if you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. But all that aside, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this. I really appreciate your attendance, participation, and most especially your generosity. Thank you so much. I don't think I could get through these things without you there to help me along. And I hope in some way, shape, or form, this has been, if not educational, at least entertaining to a certain extent, maybe in a gallows humor kind of way. Regardless, everyone, I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a good week ahead of you. Until the next one, take care, guys. Bye-bye.